So I've already indicated some of these different reporting attributes and metrics that you should be looking at. I don't think this is going to be of any surprise to anyone, some of these dimensions and attributes. What I will say about the user and the cookie ID, in this case all the way on the right-hand side, is with the deprecation of cookies and identifiers, this will be even more difficult for publishers to be able to ascertain. We already seen that a lot of platforms have started removing cookie IDs, and we've heard from Safari the deprecation of the IDFA. So in the future, or in a year and a half from now, one of the things that we've been talking about at Tech Lab, and specifically within the Project REARC, is that a lot of the information is going to be more in the aggregate. If there is a proposal from Chrome for a click event API, however, the level of data that you will be able to collect may or may not exist as it does today. There is this thing called a privacy budget that Chrome talks about, where publishers are going to have a certain what we'll call budget, or a point system, if you will, where they will able to select some of the data points that they want to report out. With that said, they will restrict certain combinations because they are trying to eliminate audience stitching and fingerprinting. So things like being able to see screen resolution against browser or OS may not be available. You may have to select one or the other. But each of these points, I think, is very important, and I think that one attribute or one data point that is often very difficult for publishers is the creative concept and the creative messaging. I will say that from an ad ops perspective, if you are a publisher and you are running video, I highly recommend that you migrate over and upgrade to VAS4, as well as the OMID and CIMID. A lot of with these three different IAB tech standards that are available, it will enable much more insights for the publishers on the types of creative concepts that are available. It definitely supports universal ad ID, which VAS2 and 3 do not. Clients are going to want to have more video that is engaging and interactive. For those that have had many concerns over VPAID, VAS4 eliminates a lot of those concerns. From looking at, in terms of insights, again, publishers have a lot of information. There are a lot of different platforms. The key is how much value and insights can you extract from that data to put things into action. So when you're looking at some of these data points, I love to not only look at them as individually from the previous slide, but I like to cross pivot, if you will, or cross tabulate a lot of the different information across these different data points. But from the channels that you have your display, your SEO, SEM. That's really important. Really understanding or working with marketers on what their attribution model is to help enable you to also think about what is right for your web property. So think about the advertisers that you have on your, that you prefer to run on your properties, and look and do some user analysis, user behavior analysis to really understand who they are. Some of the things that I think is, and again, kind of going back to the whole deprecation of the cookies, one of the things that is going to be really difficult is remarketing and being able to individually target people. So this is where first-party audiences is going to be very important from your side, and being able to offer a lot of insight, not only demo, job title, geography, but really connecting those information to their site behavior from a first-party perspective. Viewability verification, also really important. So I like to, as a buyer, I like to see not only what pages, what ads, where my ads are actually being seen, but what is the viewability and what is the likelihood of being fraud within that context, and trying to start creating profiles of the people that are actually converting or engaging with the brand properties, and try and correlate that to the content that is on the publisher site. So very important for everyone to look at where their ads are being placed, who those advertisers are, how those users are interacting with those advertisers. So again, looking at industry or vertical, and the holding company that those advertisers are from, and correlating that back to the content that's on your site, as well as the type of units that are running. So things like, for example, for homepage takeovers, is that, you know, if you have brands that are that are looking for brand awareness, which advertisers are you seeing that response rates and engagement rates are high? You can then take the insights from there, and if you understand the audiences that are actually interacting with it, such as audience segments and location and device, you can then kind of provide case studies that you can offer up to other potential advertisers. From a data point perspective, we have front-end metrics, attribution, and different KPIs. From the front-end metrics, I think, you know, we covered some of that, yeah, eCPM, click-through rates, but really, I think we're moving to a cost per view, human engaged metric. A lot of the platforms don't currently support that, but I think, again, taking some of the data points that you're seeing and really truly understanding what really matters to the buyers, and how that relates back to behavior on their brand properties is really important. Reach and frequency. I also have very strong views about reach and frequency. A lot of companies are trying to solve for over-frequencing of ads to a consumer throughout multiple properties. This is how the proliferation of DMPs came about. Based on my experience, there's not many advertisers that have enough spend that really do result in over-frequencing. And the question is, what is the optimal frequency? The cases where I've seen that situation arises is from a lot of remarketing efforts. So if you are a publisher, most oftentimes you may not be in control of a remarketing program that an advertiser has, especially if they're running things through programmatic. But I think it is important as the sales side to work with the DSPs, the header bidders, and some of the SSPs that you're working with to ensure that there is no over-frequencing. But in my eyes, most of the time, if you think about the number of ads being exposed to a user with their viewability rate and their attention span, you know, I've heard things like advertisers capping frequency at 1 or 3 a day. To me, when you think about television and out of home and radio, there's typically a higher frequency in those aspects, but digital is kind of an exception for some reason. I really like that the scientific fact that, or I don't know how scientific it is, but the myth that in order for a person to remember anything, they need to see an ad, they need to see something or hear something at least 8 times. So when you hear about that frequency of 8, is that really, you know, in what time frame are we talking about? To me, it should be within, you know, no more than 8 in a day, perhaps, and then making sure that it doesn't constantly be 8 every single day. But that's a challenge that we have right now. When it comes to frequency to conversion, you've heard a lot of, probably seen a lot of studies where there's this bell curve. Well, that bell curve initially was based on when ads were not also viewable. So I haven't seen any current studies right now in terms of looking at viewability and eliminating fraud with frequency. I do think that there are certain channels that have more of a prolific problem as well, and that includes video. So a lot of the video video properties that we've seen, you know, how many times have you seen the same spot over and over again? That is something that you should encourage advertisers to have either multiple spots running instead of the same spots as well. And then on the KPIs is really also trying to understand, getting more insights about your consumers, not just demo and from your registration, but really trying to connect their behavior as well as any offline data that you can get, and really cross-tabulating that with the types of devices that they're on, time of day, day or week, and identify what content and what pages that most users are interested in. Understand that scroll rate that goes on a page, because a page view does not necessarily mean a quality page view. I love when publishers give me the perspective that, hey, when we drive people to this particular section, the scroll rate below is typically 60 to 70%. Anything that's less than 10% is a flag for me, and so I would recommend trying to cross-tabulate those different metrics together.